Good evening and welcome to the December Parish Council meeting. Tonight we've got the usual reports from the clerk. Unfortunately, Ward Councillor Chris Wardle is ill, as are quite a lot of people, as you'll see in a minute, and can't attend. But there'll also be reports on the clubhouse and the public art project. We've only got one planning application tonight, which is the rear single-storey extension of Elm Tree Cottage. And there are only 3 resolutions tonight to purchase 2 solar-powered bollard lights for the Thrupp Close end of the footpath across the sports ground. Put up notices that dogs must be kept on a lead out to the Fishponds play area, and to consider repairs to the footpath across the sports ground, which have been damaged by tree roots. The major item, all important items, but the major item for us to consider tonight is the budget for 2025-26, and we'll finalise this at the January meeting, but we have a preliminary discussion at this meeting, and then we have to send it during January or after the January meeting to Milton Keynes Council for inclusion in the council tax bills for next year. In case you don't all make it to the end of this meeting, which I hope will be a short one, if I can firstly thank the team who put up the Christmas lights, both outside in the street and also in the village hall, and especially some of the new people who turned up this year for the first time. It was a great help. We were all running around a bit like headless chickens because we didn't have the guiding hand of Dave Hines with us, but the end result is pretty good. So I will therefore just wish everyone on this from my statement the best for Christmas and New Year from the council, and we look forward to seeing you at the first meeting in 2025 on the 6th of January. Are there any questions that have come in, Jackie or Tony? Did you want to raise anything?
No. I would like to raise something. It's something that I should have put down on the agenda. It's basically a situation with the 33 bus.
Okay, can we do that under any other business later on? Thank you. In that case, what we'll do now is we'll move straight into the meeting. We have apologies for absence from Councillor Markham, Councillor Sawbridge, and Councillor Hines, all because of illness. Can we have declarations of interest by councillors in any of the items tonight?
8.1, Chair.
Thank you. And that's fine. To agree the minutes of the previous meeting, are there any matters of fact that any councillor would like to raise before their sign? No, can I have a proposal? Russell, second Steve.
I wasn't
here. Oh, you
here.
weren't here, so 3 of us will therefore do it, and I'll sign this. So receive reports, the clerk's report, the first report. If we just look at that. Are there any questions on the clerk's report? Any matters anyone councillor wants to raise? That's items 1 to 12, the ones that are in progress. Most of them are just for interest.
Yeah, number 8. We gave the zip wire that Milton Keynes Council said they'd fix it.
Yeah, people said they'd fix it next week. I'm chasing again today.
My dad was
Till next week. Is this Phil Snell?
We'll be through Phil, I guess.
He said that Glendale are doing it and that they'd confirmed the parts were now in. So
Is the wood being done as well by then?
the wood.
The wood. There was
Yeah,
some of the wood damaged.
Yeah.
What was
The climbing frame in front of the swings.
I realised I needed.
Okay, somebody gorged out a big chunk of wood. I thought we had discussed that.
What can we do about it?
Well, I mean, I think it's for Milton Keynes to inspect it
Right.
and decide what they can do. I would guess their choices are either to replace that piece of wood or to fill it.
Okay,
And I just, sorry.
Item 9, the Sustran cycleway. People, work is still going on, it won't be finished till the end of the year. But people are still going past the no entry signs and interrupting the workmen when they're doing it. So basically just obey the signs and don't go cycling late if you can, please. Thank you.
So that effectively means the whole track is out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you've got to cycle on the road.
Yeah.
To get to Havisham.
I'm more on that. I was going to ask whether we've been in touch with Sustrans to see about publicity of opening it, because that really is a bad road for cycling. And I think being a major route into Milton Keynes
Yeah.
for cycles, the more they can publicise it.
they have asked if we would, and I've said that we would decide it on our
Sure.
social pages, that we're going to do
And
it.
Hanslope as well. And
Yeah, oh yeah, they're going to do a notice that we could park as well. But yeah, I will ask them to.
because it'll be really good. And I bet so many people don't like so.
Yeah,
Can't they go via the business park? Isn't it? Are they
Yeah,
just doing
yeah.
it down to the, so you could ride to the business park, cut down,
Yeah.
get on the track for them? It would cut out all Devil's Dip and everything.
Why is it between the business park?
I thought
and
it's
that's
only
the
on
original
the-
part.
It's from the top of what's covered basically to the.
It's the railway arch, isn't it, and that you go under to go to the business park.
Because that was always the worst part.
Oh, it's
The rest of it was,
Yeah,
Right.
as
as long as it was
yeah.
cleared by foliage.
The only thing is, I mean, the business park is private ground. You know, it's not a public highway through there. I'm not quite sure how Philip Sawbridge would react to cyclists cycling through. But, hey.
They did put that as an alternative road.
Oh, did
They have discussed it.
Oh, in that case, they
So
must
maybe they
agree
must
with
have
it.
asked.
Yeah,
But
must
they
have.
have talked about it, I know, but I don't
No
know.
idea if they did.
Yeah.
They did publish that as an alternative.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that then. There's a couple of actions there which effectively are being carried forward. And then there's the whole highways section, which is,
Haven't made any changes.
I mean, yeah, I put my head in my hands actually on some of these. Number 25 has been.
I've just written complete there.
Yeah.
It's about the only one.
Oh,
Sinkhole station.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what version I think you- no, I'm not quite sure which, whether 24 and, oh, in the alleyway.
No,
it
they're
is.
saying that that's not,
Yeah.
they're not doing that.
There's lots
They
of
ever-
lights out.
Ever gonna fix the build out?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's
The
again.
build out by me, you know, that's.
Yeah, I know that's been, I mean, the thing that amazes me about that is it's not their money. They reclaim the money
Yeah.
from the insurance
Just a
company.
code.
And
Thankfully, well, I mean, touch words, because it's, last year was terrible for punches and everything, people going around. I helped one guy fix a puncher because he drove right over the top of it.
yeah, well, I think by and large, Willington End Road is not a danger to vehicles anymore, is it? I don't like that pothole just on the other side.
Yeah, no, so I always cut round.
I cut around there, yeah.
People will then get scared that you think they're
Yeah.
gonna drive into it if they're waiting there. Thing.
But Bullington End Road, which was in a very unsafe state at one stage, they have actually been the.
It's still. I mean,
It's not great.
it's
It'd
not
be nice for it to be
yeah.
resurfaced, but that's a different thing. All right, we've covered that. I mean, we can just ask you to liaise with Rachel on Monday, Jackie, when you have time. It's all very busy at the moment anyway on other things. Right, can we move on from that then? Well, Ward Council's report, I tell you, actually, Russell, would you like to report on the number 33 bus now? Because I think there are only two items that
Yeah.
the ward councillors would have reported on, and that is one of them. So if you can be in lieu of, in loco parentis or whatever.
Right, well, as you know, we discussed the 33 at the last parish council meeting. We sent a letter to Milton Keynes Council suggesting that the route be redirected, the route of the school buses be redirected via the bus interchange at Church Street and Wolverton, so that people could catch connecting buses, which would be a stopgap to get to school, and Milton Keynes College and St Paul's School particularly, and also Radcliffe School. They have done that, and that will happen when the new timetable is published on the 4th of January. So that solves a bit of the problem, but the other problem is that it still means that anybody going to Milton Keynes College or St Paul's still need to catch 2 buses instead of 1. So, yeah. Alison Andrew, our ward councillor, and also our MP Chris Curtis have also been more involved than we have in that, but at least we've got a little bit of the way there. And I think we're still trying to get it so that the people at Milton Keynes College and St Paul's can find a quicker way to get them there in time.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
important.
also the timings of the buses have been put forward, so which helps people going to work as well. Because there were complaints that people couldn't get to work in time for 9 o'clock.
That's been resolved with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you for that. The other thing which has come up is that tomorrow, and the ward councillor would have reported on this because Chris wrote to me to say here that, you know, really bad cold and was unable to attend, is that the new ward boundaries are being published tomorrow. They were, whether it was the final one or not, but the Local Government Boundary Commission published the new boundaries on its website for about an hour and then took them down again. So presumably it was in error. But what it looks like is that there is going to be a new board of Hanslope and, wait for it, New Bradwell. So, yeah, so it skirts down, obviously, Hanslope, ourselves, Havisham, and then it skirts along and then turns in to New Bradwell up to the, I never know the V and H numbers, but the one that then goes across that you get to after going under the canal bridge. Yeah, and then comes back again.
Is it Stantonbury, New Bradwell? I think it is, isn't it?
No, it is apparently it is only New Bradwell. Stantonbury is separate. It just needed a bit more to make the numbers balance. But I mean, we will know tomorrow, so we can look at it.
So Newport Pagnell North, Newport Pagnell float off into
Newport Pagnell. You see, I mean, in fairness, what's happened is Newport Pagnell has expanded hugely.
Yeah.
And it always was very artificial.
Yeah.
Splitting it in 2 down the high street and giving one lot in with Hanslope and the other lot in its own right or something. So you know, I think I don't know. But actually I could know quite easily because I've got a copy of it.
I would have thought people in New Bradwell would have more in common with people living in Wolverton.
Well, this is something that I think, I don't know whether it's up for discussion or what, but this business of putting urbans in with rurals, and what is worse is that the urban folk may well outnumber those of us in Hanslope and Havisham and Castlethorpe. So, you know, what the ward councillors will do is direct their energies towards the majority, which is in New Bradwell. And we'll go back.
Also, the problems of an urban area are different to the problems of a rural area.
But that's been the case for Newport Pagnell all the time.
Yeah.
And really, we've had pretty good representation sharing with New Bradwell over Newport Pagnell North.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll continue to have the same. We've got the same ward councillors, so, or have we?
No, it will change. This will be at the next election. I think
Oh, right.
next year is a is it next year that it's, what do
They
they call
do
it?
it-
The
they
year
do
when
it
they don't
once
do
a-
any.
They
And then
do
they're
1
going to
year
do the whole
farm,
lot.
don't they? And they do 1 year for each of the 3.
They do 1 year for each of the 3, and then the next year is void.
Yeah,
And I think next year is void, and it's the following year when they re-elect everybody. And they may again increase the number of councillors, because they were talking about increasing the number to 60 from 57. Simply because the city's been growing, which is fair enough. But anyway,
oh,
tomorrow. So that was the news from Chris Wardle.
draws lines on that, don't they?
Such opinion on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have thought that when I won't say that, that will get me into trouble. Right, let's move on to the clubhouse report. I think Russell will publish a version of this tomorrow. I know Russell wanted to rejig it a little bit in terms of what the headline was, but I did it more or less chronologically. So since the last meeting, we had a very successful open day in September. And the next stage was finishing equipping the kitchen and furnishing the social area, following an initial grant that we'd had from the Community Foundation. We've been able to draw a further £8,000 from planning obligations, which was released as surplus funds from the shop extension. It was all a pot called Village Amenities, so it was legitimate to use it for this. And we used this last month to order the banquette seating, tables and some of the chairs, which were on special order and won't be delivered until mid-January. And any delay on ordering it last month would have caused the whole opening of the clubhouse to slip. So we're very pleased we were able to do that. The Castlethorpe Community Space, or CCS, has received donations from residents totaling over £7,000, including donations from the Carrington Charitable Trust, from Castlethorpe Cricket Club, from the Duck Race Committee, and from Councillor Liam Andrews, who allocated his discretionary £500 MKC budget, which he would have given to the parish anyway, but he's directed it for this. We've also received donations in kind, and we really do thank the individuals who contributed. It's greatly appreciated and really has made a big difference to being able to get on with the project. We have now been awarded £19,000 from the National Lottery, and that really is that is the bulk of the money that we needed to finish this. It means we can place orders for the rest of the furnishings and the kitchen equipment as soon as the money arrives, which it hasn't yet. Of great importance, as we're discussing next year's budget, it means that the parish council won't necessarily have to borrow as much as the provision that it originally made. In fact, given that we're going to be discussing the budget later on tonight, we can start having a discussion on that and finalise it, as I said earlier, in January. In fact, at this time, the only requirement on parish council funds is to light the footpath, which, as it's the sports ground, belongs to the parish council, is a legitimate use of parish council money. And a pilot scheme to light the footpath is on tonight's agenda. Quite separately, the parish council successfully applied for a grant to install a climbing wall in the garden and a garden area of the clubhouse. And the donations that I mentioned earlier allowed CCS to obtain some picnic benches, which will also go in that garden area. As we approved last month, the street light that's on that footpath has now been replaced. The old one was hardly working at all, to be honest. In September, CCS had invited expressions of interest for a tenant to operate the pavilion, as it will now be called, and we had an exceptional response. We sent out some questionnaires and shortlisted the best. And then after meeting them, we shortlisted again to 2, and we now have a preferred tenant with whom we are negotiating a tenancy agreement, plus one of the applicants in reserve. We won't say the names until the contract has been, so the agreement's been signed, but you know, we're doing quite well on that agreement. We will finish fitting out and we'll be opening up membership applications in January. And we hope to have a soft opening, that will be not all facilities there, in February, with then a formal opening, tentatively put down for the 22nd of February. And we'll have a formal opening by our new local MP, Chris Curtis, on that day. I'll probably say something as well, I guess, but there we go. So that's really the clubhouse project. One more thing, residents can be members for free, and we will get a discount on food and drink, because after all, we paid for the clubhouse. So that's the clubhouse report. The next topic is public art. Let me just pull that report up. Jackie and I met with the S106 officer for public arts, and we walked the village and discussed the various projects we put forward and the ones that we discussed at our October meeting. I have to say her feedback was pretty hard, really. The village sign replacement she supported, but it must be commissioned of an artist rather than being bought from a company. And there'll have to be some community involvement, which is fine. There was a project to put some artwork on the back walls of the bus shelters, and she thought that was good and she'd support that. And we'll look for involvement from community groups like, you know, school, youth club, other community groups, to do that. And similarly, that will have to be tendered. However, some ideas that some of the residents who came together to form, you know, a public art group, their ideas about having a community art garden at the back of the new clubhouse garden. She just said no, that would not be funded by public art. There was a suggestion we had a petanque or ball court there. No, absolutely not. There was talk about having some artwork on the shop extension. No. A plinth of the for potential plaque. If you remember last meeting, we approved the production of a new plaque. Well, it's basically the same as is in Castlefield at the moment, but which is badly weathered. And we approved getting some copies made of that. And as the copies are pretty cheap once you run off the first one, we said we'd have 3. And I just inquired casually whether we could get a plinth to put it on at the North Street entrance to Castlefield. No. So that was that. And we're trying to put some historic photographs of Castlethorpe in the clubhouse. And you know, we could get the photographs for free, but they did need printing and framing, and could we use public art money for that? No. So there we go. That's where we are. So it's basically we'll proceed now with the village sign as soon as we have a little bit of time to progress that tender, and then see what money's left, and then proceed with the bus shelter project. There we go. Anything on those reports anyone wants to raise?
Sounds like a wonderful lady to walk the village with.
The news is now onto the village Facebook page.
Very joyful.
All right, okay. Thank you. Right, planning applications. There's just the one, which is a rear story, single story rear extension at the back of Elm Tree Cottage. Any comments on that?
No comment.
No, I think it looks better than the existing extension.
Okay, no objection. report backs on the previous planning applications, taking us as a group, but we do know that 26 Lodge Farm Court, which is 6.4, has been approved.
I did email Joe Payne today to ask about these ones that are well over their due date, which is off today, back tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get them, because I had asked the officer involved with each of them, but he hasn't come back to
Why
me.
did I think I saw an email from Joe Payne today?
I think the other one approving that, did that come from her? But I definitely have an out of office from her.
Okay. And what about our approval of details on?
Yeah, again, I put that on the email last week.
Right.
Are they the only two conditions remaining, clubhouse?
Yeah.
Well, they're all completed,
Okay.
and they were
Just yet.
Yeah.
That was the last.
right. In that case, shall we move on to the resolutions then? 7.1. Jackie and I did inquire about putting up mains powered lights at the on that to illuminate that footpath. And in fairness, we did talk about heritage style street lights, which are about £800 each or something anyway. But nonetheless, to put two lights in, one between the existing street light and Thrupp Close, and the other roughly by the rugby posts on the footpath the other way. Just as an indicative of the cuff quote, it was 5,000 to 6,000, which is an awful lot of money. So
Were they,
sorry?
Was that electrical ones or?
Yeah,
solar powered?
that was trenching
Yeah.
from the existing street lines to get to the others. So we looked at getting commercial grade, i.e. suitable for being out for the public as opposed to domestic stuff in your garden. Solar powered bollards. The manufacturers, say, they should be fine. And we're suggesting that we get two of these to go between, basically, where the light gets cut off is where that hedge runs between the pavilion and Thrupp Close. The hedge makes it very dark in there.
And it's on two sides as well.
Yeah. So yes, the hedge is on two sides. So it's a matter of putting the lights along there. They're not hugely expensive. I think they're about. I think the total is £570 for the two of them plus VAT. They will have to have a concrete base put in once we've decided where they're going to go. We'll try and experiment where they're going to go to illuminate the path, which will obviously be a bit more money. But I know Michael was about 200 quid for putting in
270.
270 for putting in one concrete base. But I mean, these would be smaller and he'd be doing them both at the same time. So I wouldn't think it will be much different for these. There is, having walked that so many times, I actually had to go and specifically look to get this right. On the car park side, there is a long hedge which has got a kind of kink in it to go around a tree. There is then a really tiny little hedge, a gap, and a bigger hedge. This is all on the car park side. That very tiny little hedge may have to come out in order to place the light, okay. But I've even spoken to Ian, who is normally very possessive about this, and he was fine with it. So that's basically what the resolution is. So I'd like to, any questions? I know.
Yeah, if these lights work, then presumably we're going to buy more to illuminate the dark sides of the path further on.
I think we will, as we can afford it, which may not be this winter. It may have to wait until next winter.
I think we agreed to make sure that the the passage from Thrupp Close entrance, which is the main entrance, is illuminated, and then we'll do whatever we can from Lodge Farm Court entrance.
Yeah,
But it may be for the first bit of time that people will need a torch if coming in from
Yeah.
Lodge Farm Court.
yeah. And again, remember, we're talking about opening at the end of February, so I mean, by March,
Spring coming.
it's only, how many, it's only 19 days and the days start getting longer, isn't it? Anyway, so that's the proposal. Darren, you've not really been involved in any of it, have you?
No, it sounds good to me, yeah, I'll come from the other way anyway. See myself coming from Lodge Farm Court, definitely
Yeah.
taking the wrong detail.
So I'll propose, does this need a seconder? The financial,
Yeah.
Steve is doing that, and all in favour, yeah? Thank you. 7.2 is something that's been outstanding for a long time. We have said, we had an order under the Clean Environment Act or whatever it was, that dogs have to be kept in the Fishponds play area. And I had a complaint during since the last meeting from a resident that dogs were being allowed to run loose in the Fishponds area. It's obviously very difficult to pick up after them when they're running loose. So they are meant to be on a lead, as we said. Before actually going any further, just a little bit of background, and many residents that are watching. I had a phone call, as I wrote to you all, from Richard Pryor at Havisham, and Havisham have had terrible problems with dog farming in the recreation ground. And he's been speaking to Nick Hannon, who's one of the environment, might be an assistant director actually at the council. He's quite senior. And he's a very helpful as well. And he has said that he might consider a public space protection order on recreation grounds in effectively rural west, which I think is Hounslow, Havisham and Castlethorpe, and possibly in the future New Bradwell. So that's a joke. But to which I responded that I thought, and I'd just like to take the council's feedback on this, that we would be supportive of that, so long as we could be precise about what was a recreation area. So it is the sports ground, the Fishponds, and the Thrupp play area. It is not Castlefield or Gothersfield. Yeah. Okay. So on that basis, could we, get some signs put up at the? I mean, unfortunately, there are 3 entrances to the Fishponds. So you would need 3 signs.
Also need them for the Thrupp. You need them for the Thrupp one as well.
Well,
Yes.
we haven't got one at the moment, have we?
No, we
not
haven't.
to Thrupp play area.
Yeah.
And have
I mean, to be honest,
If you're doing signs and what,
I've never seen a dog.
any extra signs are quite cheap, so you may as well get them all done.
Yeah.
it's making up of the sign that's expensive bit.
Yeah.
That's not.
Oh, you can do it.
The only thing about the sports ground, and we certainly could do it at the Lodge Farm Court end, but at the Thrupp Close end, there probably will be some signage to do with the new clubhouse.
Yeah.
And we need to be a bit in keeping with whatever that's doing there. But
Sorry, Jay, just one thing. Milton Keynes Council said that he'd be willing to make a PSPO, but will they enforce it?
yeah,
So they'll enforce it
Well,
through to.
they will enforce it, but if you remember, and you and I had experience of this, that if someone has got a dog and letting them run loose, pretty much anybody can take a photograph. It's public space. You take a photograph, and you can report it to the environmental crime unit, which is what you and I did with that individual, and they will get an FPN. You have to sign a witness statement saying you know, this is
Get the
genuine,
environment, crime
And the
will
environment
take it on if there's
we'll then
yeah.
issue an FPN for it.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, all in favour.
Yeah.
As a dog owner.
Yeah.
Okay. Right,
Can
thank
you
you.
just say, because we're buying signs.
No, not for that. So
So it's three at Fishponds and one at Thrupp. And
And there'll be two at,
two sports ground,
yeah,
because there's one as you come down from Henslope.
well, no, but if you put it on the inner gate. So the one from Hanslope, as you come down,
Down
you
here,
still enter at the Lodge Farm Court end, don't
there's
you?
another gate,
Is that?
yeah, bottom,
Right, I didn't know.
yeah, there is.
I always walk round.
There's a sign there at the moment,
Right, okay.
Okay.
yeah,
What does the sign say?
it's the same as one.
Oh, no
No
dogs.
cycles.
No, no, right, okay. Okay, so it should be there as well then. In fact, I'd get three, and then if we need to replace one of them with the pavilion signage, I mean, it might go as well, or it might
I can
be
just
instead.
take it down and have it in reserve.
So 7 in total.
Actually, the other thing we'll need to do before the clubhouse opens is move the dog poo bin out of Castlefield at Thrupp Close corner and into the car park,
Yeah,
so that it's reachable from behind the post and rail fence walking down to Castlefield. It's also accessible from the car park, and so we'll need to get.
Agree a position.
Yeah, well, I have actually agreed a position with Scotland, Chris Ross, that's it. The Ross and Chris Birchall.
So that's basically 6 signs, including one that would, for the Thrupp entrance of.
Yeah.
That could be held in reserve.
yeah.
So maybe.
I mean, I've never ever seen a dog inside the
No,
play
Thrupp.
area,
No,
the
no.
Thrupp play area, in fairness, but then I don't go there that often. Okay, very good. Steve, the next item, agenda item is consider a quotation for the repair of the footpath.
Yeah, it's only just come in,
Came in.
and it's only just come into Jackie, and she circulated it immediately. It's a bit more than I thought it would be, but tarmacking is expensive at the moment. Well, at the moment. So the quote is for there are 2 areas where roots have lifted the tarmac such that they're a trip hazard, and the tarmac is quite badly raised.
Yeah,
So they definitely need doing. It's just this quote is for £885. It's just whether we're happy with that. I've got no idea whether that Michael would normally not.
It's normally
very good, but that does been quite a lot for.
Yeah.
They're not big areas.
well, what's worse is, that we did discuss that, as you come in from the Thrupp end and go onto the footpath, there is actually a gravelled area
Yeah.
that really ought to be tarmacked as well, because you've got tarmac on the entrance road really coming into Thrupp. You've got tarmac on the path, and then it's almost as if, you know, there's a gap between the two, which is just gravelled, and really that area ought to be tarmacked as well. What do you want to do with this?
I mean, like I say, I've only just seen it, and it does seem to be a lot of money, but it does need doing. Yeah, I think if we could just satisfy ourselves that is a reasonable amount,
Yeah,
and
add in that other little area as well.
yeah,
It's not very big.
You know the bit that Phil's talking
Yeah,
about.
just extending the footpath.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, it's only one
Yeah,
large step.
but these bits are only 1.5 steps.
Like that.
But
Yeah.
I guess there'll be a lot of work in actually trying to get to the root, get
Yeah.
the roots out, and
Yeah,
so it's not going to be a straightforward job. But yeah, if we get that extra bit, get Michael to quote further for that, and get just one more, and we don't have to get 3, just to satisfy ourselves that Is, and I guess we can phrase a resolution that we were approved if it's comparable with a similar quote. And
Yeah, but I would like to,
the cost, didn't we?
yeah, I would like to see the
Yeah.
extra bit as well.
Yeah, we've
See
got
what
the
that
extra
is.
bit to put in.
I mean, I don't know how much of this is kind of fixed cost for turning up with a barrel of tarmac, which you know might be that is part
Well,
of it,
it's-
like
it's-
a day rate type thing.
It's coming up to dig the holes in for the light bollards, isn't he?
Yeah,
So
actually, I mean that's a very good point.
That-
So
that's-
Michael, you know, there's a little bit of work to do just in this area here. 2 bits
Yeah.
of footpath, 1 bit that needs laying fresh, and 2 concrete holes. So why don't we
Like
wait
always.
until we're ready
and get
With a final
get a
position on
combined
the
vote
football.
for the whole.
and then do the whole lot?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. That should be the most economical way of doing it,
Yeah.
shouldn't it? Okay. Shall we move on to the payment schedule for this month?
Oh, I have to excuse myself.
Okay. Oh, yes, of course. So I don't think I looked for it earlier, and I mean, it all looked pretty straightforward to me. It's the usual sort of office costs, as it were, some cleaning costs for the village hall and the bus shelters, and the lighting costs for Sports Ground and Prospect Place, for which we have actually received residents' donations. The floodlight repairs up at the tennis courts. Some weed control and grass seeding in the clubhouse. Electricity for the Christmas lights, and the big one is the insurance, which we're on a 3-year contract for anyway. And then Steve's, we had approved a cheque, which is he held on to while we were very, very close financially. Thank you, Steve. But so long it's now out of date, so we need to reissue it. And the Glendale landscaping contract, which we'll have to come on to talk about later. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'll propose, Darren is going to second, and we're all in favour. So I sign this one here. Steve, you can come back now. You were listening.
So I need to change the link to.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. We'll have a clean one tomorrow because it's correct on the
Yeah,
website, but not the printed version. Right, so the next one is to look at the the budget for next year. And again, this is a little difficult because 3 of us were actually on a call to do this work through. So Darren, this is all over to you. Have you got any questions on? So shall we just go through it? This is important. It really is a pity that 3 councillors can't be here. I mean, they can't. Obviously, you're real.
they could be watching, so they can.
Are you watching?
Dave.
He could actually have joined by Zoom. He just couldn't vote. He could have asked questions. So the precept that you're showing here is without any increase, isn't it? Yeah, so it's the same.
Yeah, I think it's
It's the
just
same 136,572. And then you've got all the other grants and so on through there. So if you just look at the 2 columns, I and J, Darren, you can see, you know, where also F, because F has got what we project this year to be, and I is this year's budget, and J is next year's budget. And we basically went through arguing each column.
Yeah.
And we think it is all about about where it needs to be. I'm just looking at that income side. Any questions on that? I'm taking a reasonably cautious view on the village hall rentals, 5,000. You know, it used to be 10,000 a year before we lost playgroup. Okay, then we go through the sort of overhead costs, licenses, clerk licenses, and PWRB repayments. You know, I am hopeful that we'll be able to reduce our requirement for the loan by about 15,000. So it'll be 35 instead of the 50. Indeed, the real reason that we need that money is now because we've done the clubhouse projects, but we haven't had the invoice still for the streetlights.
Okay.
We won't need that loan until the streetlights come in. I think, Jackie, it would be worth your while, if you could, inquiring of PWRB whether it is possible to, you know, to extend it, because obviously we don't particularly want to draw it down and start money before we have to. And that's effectively the reason we need it now.
Are we likely to get that this year?
What
The invoice for the.
We'll be waiting for it this year, a year
Right,
already.
yeah.
I mean, they're still actually technically they haven't finished the project.
No.
You know, there's still
Maybe-
some lights outstanding.
Maybe not until they finish.
They're not, yeah.
And I did challenge them on their lack of management anyway, and said that you might like to think and start with the basis. They didn't charge us anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, what they charge, is it 15% or something?
They charge 19% management overhead.
19% management overhead, and they've just not managed it at all. So certainly.
Worse, they just didn't reply to emails. They left that. I mean, the light I feel particularly strongly about is the one just over on Station Road, just over the bridge, which they took away the light it was replacing on the other side of the road, which they didn't do with any other lights. They left the other lights working until the new one was in and working.
Yeah.
And then they took the old ones away. They took that one away, connected up right through the winter. It's got a really high curve there. Really dangerous.
They didn't tell us they were doing that, did they?
No, and when I queried it, they said, "Oh, it's because there's got to be a long trench dug, which will cross the entrance to Mill View."
And we walked it with them and
Yeah.
said,
And when I actually saw the trench they dug, it was about that long and just into the footway immediately in front of them. It's just dreadful. Anyway, sorry, must get off my.
They won't.
Let's go down
a
here.
year and a half.
So anyway, that's the point about the PWRB.
Yeah,
So we'll
yeah.
see where we stand on that.
The interest rate would probably have gone down quite a bit, hasn't
Yeah, may well have done. Yeah. Well, don't know what's happening now. And then again, with the sports ground and other general maintenance, we just tried to take figures. I mean, it is difficult with the. We're hoping that football are going to continue on there. Have we had a request from CSA for grants? No. Fencing costs. Publications pretty much the same. Gas, electricity, why are these numbers in red? That was.
We were waiting for the bill to come in.
Okay. So that gave us a very small surplus. But we probably will need to put an increase through just to generate enough money to do some other stuff with.
we've also got the landscaping,
Yeah.
which could turn into
A nightmare.
a few thousand cost.
Right. So for residents, what has happened is that we entered into I don't know how many years was it? Was it 4 or 5
It
years?
was 3 years, but
3
with
years.
a review after the first year.
3-year contract with Glendale with a review after the first year, and they've actually decided to not continue because their costs were much higher than they expected. So I have to say, I'm very surprised about it. I would have thought that would have.
They did a lot of work that wasn't on the spec. They did the Castlefield side of the boundary between Castlefield and the sports ground, which I think is Luke's responsibility to do it. That hasn't been done for a long time, and they cut all down there. They cut all the hedges in the sports ground, which wasn't part of the spec. That's part of the sports ground landscape and to do that. So they did quite a bit of work that wasn't on their specification.
Yeah.
And but they reckon that they overshot. They doubled they actually doubled, didn't they? The amount that they expected it to cost.
Well, I think Jackie is going to see whether other parishes have got a contractor that will give us a price, and also contact Kay. I had an exchange with Kay Pettit today on something else, so she's back in the office. She was out of the office last week. But as you say, I mean, if Glendale's costs are accurate, that would be another 4,000 to add to the budget.
Well, that's what it costs them, not what they charge us.
Yeah, and that would wipe out the small surplus that we've got in this budget and any increase that we might have. So we do need to get this really sorted out before we submit this budget to MKC. But has anyone seen anything in here that you want to raise any questions?
All right, only that.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, we'll carry that forward and we'll discuss at the next meeting. Hopefully we'll have some answers to some of those questions. Right. Any correspondence received?
No.
No. And any other business for noting or including on future agenda?
Signs at the sports ground. Are they still showing no dogs, no cycling and stuff?
Yeah, they will be changed. I mean, partly through this one that Russell's going to do. But we held off changing the signs until we knew what was happening with the clubhouse, because we didn't want to do one set of signs and then have to change it. But I think at the Lodge Farm end, it will just be a straightforward dogs on lead sign. It's just a bit more complicated at the Thrupp Close end, because you've got the pavilion, cafe and bar, the cricket and next match is against so-and-so, and you've got a no dog sign. So you've got to make sure you don't get overwhelmed with dog signs. It might be, that the pavilion, cafe and bar just has at the bottom, dogs must be kept on the lead or something. It's not very common.
You need one of those news tickets that just keep saying it.
Yeah.
No question for that.
And any other business? No.
Thank you. Yeah. When I was helping with the lights on Saturday, I noticed that big window there is in a poor state, and I think I didn't have a chance to talk to you about it between Saturday and now, really. I don't know whether we need to think about a replacement.
But if we do, we should budget for it.
The village isn't listed.
Sorry?
It's not a listed building.
I thought we were listed. I thought we were going to be listed.
No, we found that out when we put the clock up.
Well, well, that makes it a lot easier. Having said that, that is a big window, and it would be as well to have a new unit double glazed.
Yes, and it would have to blend in with the conservation.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. But I think we may need to think about that. But I don't know. This is, it's a busy month personally for all of us.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sort of pile on things. I think we just have to deal with it when we come to it. I mean,
we'll have to make a budgetary call. Like you say, it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be good for figures.
Oh, possibly 5.
Possibly 5, yeah,
Yeah,
which is,
a lot of money, yeah.
yeah.
Now, it might be possible to get a grant, you know, because it is a community hall.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we should certainly look for that.
Yeah.
Will it last another year till next year's budget?
Was it rotting?
Yes, that's time.
I think it is actually
Well,
probably temporarily repairable.
Okay,
What's happened is, there are strips, at least I think, I mean, I'm not expert in this sort of thing. There are kind of strips of wood which go around, which hold the
okay,
the glass in, and those strips of wood are lifting at either end. And,
Okay,
you know,
so-
clearly, you know, the least is that they need removing and a sound wood putting in.
because that cost it, if we can't get a grant, it will have to be accounted for in a budget.
Yeah.
We won't be able to pay that out, pay cash.
No.
Okay, and the other thing was the recent flooding. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, Station Road was much better. I checked with.
Have they done some work on that, so
Yeah.
where the category is?
Yeah, the ditch had been cleared out and there was no flooding there at all, but now it's further down.
It's further down.
But I think that's
That's
just a one-off, I don't know.
Richard Pryor, they unfortunately did have houses flooded in Havisham. And Nick Hannon, Richard Pryor's talking to him, is coming out sometime this week, he thinks, to look at what's gone wrong there, which is if anyway, where it is, but he's hoping that Nick might be persuadable to come out to have a look at Devil's Dip again. And if that happens, I will go out if I can to meet them, because it's actually really quite complicated, because Andrew and I did the work on that about 10 years ago, and it's got buns up by the M1. You know,
Well, it all comes down from
and
Cross,
it comes through Tattle End.
Tattle End rather.
Then it the footbridge was taken out so that the concrete bases on either side wouldn't restrict the flow, and the footpath was rerouted. Then it comes down, and then there's some work done at Jan and John Taylor's farm, and a larger bund created there. Then a bigger pipe put across the road, and then it comes down there, and then if it still gets onto the road, which it may do, the culverts were created at the side of the road so the water could get away quickly. But all of that needs to be kept clear. And frankly, the number of changes of personnel at Milton Keynes Council, particularly in highways, is such that I would be very surprised if their corporate memory actually knows what's what. I did have this discussion. They said, "Oh yes, we know," but
Did Tattle End flood the other day?
yeah, yes,
Quite
it did.
deep.
Yeah, water came off the field,
Right,
came down.
from the field, not
Yeah.
the ditch.
Well, it goes into the ditch,
Right, yeah, and that's what.
and then flows down. But really, the source problem is in the field.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's everything, I think, isn't it?
Well, I've got to send him my apologies for the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're finished in that case.
Okay.
We have no part 2, so thank you if you're still here. Quick meeting. We didn't have time to make a cup of tea. So all the best for Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you on the 6th of January. Good night.
Good night.
Can I just say thank you very much to the parish council for the only member of the public who seems to turn up.
Thank
For all
you.
your efforts, the clubhouse, all the work you seem to do. Carl, we do the same in Cosmo.
Yeah.
Dog mucking street lamps.
Yeah, no, it's
Really thanks his task.
it's fantastic.
What, how big is Castlethorpe?
Well, it's 1,200. I would say that there are quite a few residents who do watch. You can see the count
Oh, yeah.
out there. Not always live, but catching
Yeah.
up afterwards, and you know, that is appreciated. Next worthwhile.